What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to today's video. I spend a lot of time on this channel kind of glorifying the path of the software developer, software engineer, sharing my experience, which has been overly positive. But today I want to mix that up a little bit, and I want to share with you some of the top reasons that I think that you should not become a software developer. You can spin it a million different ways, but at the end of the day, no career path is perfect, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Because I do think that a lot of channels on social media, including my own, sometimes may come off this way, where we glorify this career path a lot, and it probably influences a lot of people to chase this career path, even though that it may not be right for them. So the first reason that you may want to consider as to why you should not become a software developer is if you hate sitting in front of a computer for very long periods of time. Now, I know what you're thinking. This may sound very obvious, but this is something that a lot of people may not consider. If you are not comfortable sitting in front of a screen for 8 to 14 hours a day, depending on whether you're learning or working or whatever it is that you're doing, this may not be a great path for you because it does require sitting in front of a screen all day long. Now, me personally, I'm a computer guy. I like sitting in front of the computer all day long. I've worked a lot of jobs in the past that were much more labor intensive and out working in the environments and traveling and things like that, and they served a purpose at that time, but overall it was not where I saw myself being for the long term. I enjoy being able to sit in one place and not have to go running all over the place doing various things. So for me, it's kind of the perfect setup. But for a lot of people, it may drive them crazy to sit still for 8 hours a day with headphones on. It's really just not for everybody. The second reason that I want to talk about is if you are trying to get into this career just for the money. This is definitely one of probably the most talked about things when it comes to software engineering across social media and various YouTube channels. It's one of the things that I think probably draws the most people to the industry. And this is kind of a problem, right? Because there's a lot of people that get into this field that don't really have any passion or desire to be in the sciences like this, but they do it strictly for the money. And when it comes down to that, on the side of the developer, you're probably going to be miserable. You're not going to enjoy your job. You're not going to be passionate about it. You're going to probably at some point struggle to either find work or move up in your career because you're not willing to kind of take those extra steps that it will take, where you have to spend your free time studying and learning new concepts and things like that it takes to move up in this field. And you're not going to want to dedicate that time to do so because you don't genuinely enjoy it. So I think that you would probably save yourself a lot of pain in the long run just by not pursuing a field that you just don't have any interest in and that you're only doing it for the money. I know that it's very attractive to want to do that, especially when you look at all the job listings online, or you look at pay charts and pay scales like Glassdoor or levels.fyi, and they show you that all these starting salaries can be in the $80,000 to $100,000 range. Or you look at the Facebook and the Netflix salaries that are several $100,000 a year. But there's a lot of time investment that comes with being able to achieve that level. And people who only want to do this for the money probably aren't going to actually end up achieving that level, because it takes a lot more than just wanting the money to get there. Which this reason actually kind of rolls right into my third reason, and that is if you don't like to have to learn new things all the time. If you're looking for a job or a career that is probably kind of minimal investment, you can show up, you can do the work, but not a lot of things change all the time, this is really not that kind of industry. The technologies and things change all the time. There's always new frameworks coming out. Language preferences change. Desires change as you go from company to company. Maybe they use an entirely different tech stack and you have to learn a whole lot of new languages or frameworks. On top of that, there's just so much changing in the industry all the time. And that's part of one of the things that makes it really hard, is that you have to constantly be learning these new technologies and staying up to date to be competitive in the field. So if you want those top jobs that pay top dollar, you have to kind of be on the cutting edge a lot of times, and you have to be very competitive. You have to learn very complex topics to be able to work at some of those companies like Facebook or Google. So if you want kind of a low investment job that happens to pay well, unfortunately this is probably not the route that you want to take, because you will be spending a lot of time studying and learning new concepts, whether that's at work or on your own time. But there's really just no getting around that. things are going to keep changing, technology is going to keep evolving, and that's going to keep requiring these that's going to maintain this level of requirement that you have to continue to learn new things as a developer. And just real quick, I want to go ahead and ask, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, please be sure to hit the like button down below and consider subscribing to the channel so that you get notified when I post new content. All right, so reason number 4 is actually kind of funny, but it's a little bit of a stereotype, but I myself have experienced this, and I know countless other developers have experienced this as well. You will probably at some point be pestered by either people you know or people on the internet that they have the next billion-dollar app idea. They are going to build the next Facebook. They are going to build the next Google, but they don't have a developer and they want you to do it for free. Not necessarily like a huge reason to avoid the field, unless you just get really annoyed by people bugging you, wanting handouts of, you know, being a developer is kind of like being the only guy you know that has a truck and you need to move. But the important thing here is, if this doesn't actually bother you, just keep in mind, it's okay to tell these people no. 99.9999% of the time their idea is probably worthless. It's probably already been done. If you ever wanted to build something to that scale to compete with one of those companies, you would need a very fat bank account, and I'm talking billions of dollars to be able to compete, to scale something to that level. And odds are the people messaging you on Instagram or Facebook asking you to build something do not have that kind of capital to back that idea up. And the 5th and final reason that I think that you should not become a developer is if you only expect to have to work remotely. Right now is kind of an exception to this, as was like kind of throughout 2020. And that is strictly because of COVID. A lot of companies did shift to remote style work because of COVID and things like that. But as we move further through 2021 and probably going into 2022, we will probably see a lot of companies start to shift back into kind of an on-site or at least a flex type work schedule. I have been very fortunate so far. My first job that I was at for about 6 months was fully remote. They grew throughout 2020 while they were remote, and they don't even fit in their current office. They have to build a new office, so they probably won't be going back for quite some time. And then my current job actually just reopened their office about a week ago, and they're currently doing a fully like flexible schedule, or they're currently doing a fully like flex work type thing, structure. I don't know what you want to call it, but basically we can work as much or as little from the office as we choose to. So like I've only actually been up to the office like once. I worked up there for like half a day, went home during lunch, finished out the day at home. I think they will probably continue to maintain this structure, because during the time that everybody was remote before the office reopened, they made the choice to hire developers that were out of state as well. So we now have some employees that are fully remote that literally can't come work at the office. So that's kind of a hint to me that they're probably going to maintain our flexible structure. But that does not mean that all companies are going to do this. There probably will be many companies that will eventually require their employees to be back in person in the office. Because I know before COVID, remote jobs were pretty hard to get. You had to have at least a couple years of experience, I think, to find yourself in a fully remote position, because it's much easier to learn and, you know, gain that trust of your employer when working in person than it is remote with no experience. So definitely don't get your hopes up on remote for the long term. I don't know if this will ever change back to being like everybody's fully back in the office, or if a lot of companies really learn from this experience and plan to kind of maintain a remote type status. That really wraps it up for what I have for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to smash the like button down below and hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you get notified when I post new content. Until next time, guys.